If I could live 1 year again, just one, it wouldn't be my youth, and it wouldn't be the year I fell in love, or the year I became a mother. It would be a quiet year, one I barely noticed while it was happening, and I didn't understand its value until it was already gone. My name is Lucille, and I'm 90 years old. I've lived a long life, long enough to see how strangely time works, and long enough to realize that the year I miss most wasn't special at all while I was living it. I used to think regret would come from the big mistakes, the wrong marriage, the job I should have left earlier, the arguments I never resolved. But that isn't where it settled. It came from something smaller, something almost invisible. It came from the year when nothing dramatic happened, and I didn't realize I was standing in the middle of everything I would someday miss. That year, I was in my late 40s. I remember complaining a lot about being tired, about routines, about how every day felt the same. I'd wake up early, make coffee, fold laundry, go to work, come home, cook dinner, clean the kitchen, and sit down for a few quiet minutes before bed. I remember thinking, is this it? Is this all life is going to be now? At the time, I felt restless. I felt unimportant. I felt like my best years were behind me and my meaningful years were somewhere else, either already gone or still waiting ahead. I didn't feel grateful. I felt stuck. That was the year my children still lived at home. Not as little ones, but not gone yet either. They were old enough to roll their eyes at me and young enough to still wander into the kitchen just to talk. They'd tell me about their days while I cooked, half paying attention, and I'd nod while thinking about bills or work or how tired my feet felt. I didn't realize I was living inside moments I would replay decades later. That was the year my body still worked without negotiation. I could bend down, stand up, walk quickly, sleep through the night without pain waking me. I didn't appreciate that ease. I assumed it would last. I thought aches and limits were problems for much later. My parents were still alive then. Older, yes, but still here. I'd visit them out of obligation more than desire some weeks. I'd rush conversations, glance at the clock, think about what else I needed to get done. I loved them, but I didn't yet understand that time with them was no longer something to assume. And my husband was still there, sitting across from me at the table most nights. We weren't romantic anymore. We weren't exciting. We were comfortable, and sometimes distant, and sometimes irritated with each other. I thought the passion was gone for good, and I didn't know that comfort itself would someday feel like a luxury. Nothing tragic happened that year, no great loss, no great achievement. And that's exactly why I missed it. I spent that year waiting, waiting for something to change, something to improve, something to finally feel like life again. I told myself I'd be happier later, when things slowed down, when the kids were grown, when work was less demanding, when I had more time to myself. I didn't know that later would come with empty rooms, quieter phones, and a body that asked permission before doing the simplest things. Years passed quickly after that, faster than I expected. The kids moved out. My parents passed within a few years of each other. My husband grew quieter, then ill, then gone. Work ended one day without ceremony, and suddenly the days were wide open in a way I once thought I wanted. And that's when I started thinking about that year. I'd remember standing at the sink, hands in warm water, listening to muffled voices from the next room. I'd remember being annoyed by the noise, the mess, the repetition, and I'd feel a tightness in my chest because I would give anything to stand there again, tired and distracted and unaware of how full my life actually was. That year held my last ordinary days, the kind of days you don't photograph, the kind you don't talk about later, the kind you rush through, assuming they'll repeat forever. I used to believe happiness was something loud, something obvious, something you'd recognize the moment it arrived. But now I know it's often quiet, hiding inside routine, disguised as boredom. If I could live that year again, I wouldn't try to make it extraordinary. I wouldn't chase excitement or demand meaning from every moment. I'd just stay present. I'd listen more closely. I'd sit longer at the table. I'd let the small annoyances exist without resentment, because they were proof of life happening all around me. I would tell my younger self that feeling restless doesn't mean something is wrong. Sometimes it means you're standing in the middle of something you'll one day ache for. I can't go back. None of us can. But I can tell you this while I'm still here. If your days feel ordinary, if you feel tired of repetition, if you think life is on pause while you wait for something better, be careful. You might be living the year you'll miss the most. Pay attention. Not because every moment is magical, but because this version of your life is already slipping away. And one day, much sooner than you expect, you'll realize it was never empty at all.